Hey,
Hey, Kevin.
how are you, my friend?
Doing well, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for asking. Thank you for being so amazingly flexible with all this. I really appreciate it.
Hey, no, it's all good, man. I'm just glad we were able to connect, and I'm excited about really getting to know you more, and just more curiosity about how you've gotten to what you're doing, and I love your slogan of "Be here tomorrow." Um, so yeah, I'm glad to make this work for sure.
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate it. Well, let's get right into it.
Okay.
I'm going to do a bit of an intro, and then at the end, I'll give you a call afterward to see how you're feeling about it.
Okay.
All
Sounds
right,
good.
here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, family and friends, welcome to another episode of the Mental Health Marvels podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Hines, and today I'm with a great man named Jason Holzer, an amazing human being with a powerful story to tell that you need to hear today. It's something that I heard his story. I was impacted by it. It moved me to tears, and I wanted to share it with you because it can help you find hope, find that light at the end of the tunnel, and find the will to be here tomorrow and every day after that. So here with me is my good friend Jason Holzer. How are you, buddy?
Hey, Kevin, great to be here, man. Thank you for having me. And I have also found your story as impactful, so it's exciting to connect with you here.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Well, let's get right into it. Jason, uh, you were born into a small town outside of Jefferson City. Big family. And at 9 years old, you were asked to play with the 10 up group of your youth baseball league. You were fast and you were a really good outfielder. Tell me about that experience, being asked to play for the higher team and what that did for your confidence.
Yeah, man. As a kid, I loved baseball. Baseball was my love sport, and I had dreamed of being a professional baseball player for the St. Louis Cardinals, and I was whenever I was 9 or 10, they asked me to play with the 11-year-olds because I could really catch the ball, I could throw, I could hit, I lead off, and man, that was like one of the high moments of my life. And I was like, I'm gonna be a professional baseball player one day, as a kid. And that, even though that didn't work out, I still have been really involved in sports, beyond that. Just still find that passion as a kid, and but at the time it was a lot of fun, man, being playing with the older kids for sure.
Absolutely. And then when you were 10, 11, and you playing basketball, they called you the shooter, right?
Yeah,
Tell
yeah,
me,
like it
tell me
was
that story.
well, any inbounds play, they're like, "Hey, shooter, shooter!" And they would call my number out, and I was like, "Heck yeah, you better guard me. I'm gonna knock you down. Watch out." So it's something that it gives you a little bit of excitement whenever people are aware of, like, "Oh man, hey, that's the shooter. That's the guy we need to guard." Um, there's an extra challenge in that, and it's fun too because I wish I could have carried that confidence into my teenage years as well whenever I was that young. But as you probably are aware, your teenage years are they can be really challenging, especially like trying to figure out who you are.
That's right. And that's a great transition into in sixth grade, you were heavily bullied, so much so that you would have gripping anxiety about going to school. Your stomach would hurt. You would want to stay home. Tell me about how that affected you and your family.
Yeah, man. We even went to a small Catholic school, too, and where you would think like that stuff wouldn't happen. Um, and for reasons I can't remember, and again, it's everybody just growing up trying to find themselves. I was the person that was bullied, and it really made me very self-conscious. I lost a lot of my self-image issues of like, oh, like, why don't kids like me? Like, what did I do? Or what was going, and when I look back, maybe it wasn't really me, maybe it was what those other kids were going through as a defense mechanism to maybe keep from themselves being bullied. And so it's always easier to find the weak link in the chain, if you will, at the time whenever I was 12 years old, and I was always trying to be a nice kid. And so it's unfortunately sometimes being the nice kid, you're also vulnerable to other people, doing and saying mean things to you. And then from there, what happens a lot of times is hurt people, So then in 7th and 8th grade, I built up walls of defense mechanisms, and I did some things that I really regret about, kids that I made fun of, or, things that I did. And I've even reached out on Facebook and apologized and asked for forgiveness to them, because it's something I felt like I was holding on to still. And
Yeah.
I was like, man, I really need to say I'm sorry, even though it's been over 20 years ago. I was like, I still felt bad about it as I started to look back at my childhood.
It's interesting. It's great that it's sad that you had to go through the bullying. I went through a lot of bullying myself. Um, you know, you and it's understandable that hurt people do hurt people. And I think if we're going to have empathy for the person that gets bullied, we also need to have empathy for the bully, because they wouldn't act like that unless they were in pain themselves, wherever that pain is coming from. My bullies typically had difficult home lives and abusive home lives, and they took that out on me every day. But it's great that you learned from your experience and that you went back and you apologized to those people as an adult, which is an honorable thing to do. Not many people would have the gall to go back and just say you're sorry, knowing that some of these people might not actually forgive you. You don't really know what their reaction is going to be. What was their reaction to your asking for forgiveness, if you don't mind?
He was really receptive of it. He was like, hey, we were kids, plain and simple. And that's kind of how, whenever I forgave the people, I didn't even seek them out and say, I just, for myself, I sought forgiveness, forgiving them. And he was like, you know what? We were kids, man. I'm good now. And I was like, well, I just hope you don't have any ramifications from the things that I've said or done. And the past is what it is, Kevin, and you can't change it, but you can alter it by forgiving, by asking, by saying you're sorry, by, looking at yourself in humility and saying, man, I messed up. I truly am sorry. Now that I have a higher awareness level and a higher conscious level as a human being. And he was, graciously accepting, which was very comforting on my end too, that I could walk forward and not feel like I have to, still carry that with me.
You could brush it off your shoulders, and he was appreciative of it. And the fact that you asked for forgiveness and told him you were sorry, that goes a long way. Frankly, none of my bullies have ever done that. And I hope one day they do, because all I want to do is give them a hug and tell them I love them. I'm just sorry you had so much hatred and spite back in those days. Wishing you the best, wishing you well always in all your endeavors as an adult. But I'll tell you, it was brutal, the things they did to me. But moving forward, you're moving on. You're in your freshman year, and something very frustrating happens. You're the last one cut from your freshman basketball team. You were bummed. You went out for the sophomore team, but you gave up on playing after that junior year. And something, probably one of the most tragic things you can imagine happened in your life. On May 8th, 2003, you lost your father to his own hands, to suicide by lethal emotional pain. Can you talk about losing your dad to suicide and what that did to you and your family, and how you found a way to fight through that pain?
Yeah, it was, to say my life was changed forever is an understatement, and not just mine, but my entire family. I have over 30 first cousins, over, 15, 20 aunts and uncles, and my mom, my grandparents as well. And we were all shocked. We had no idea. My dad was a funny guy. He was outgoing. He was a great family man. He always made time for his kids. And, my parents were together for over 20 years, and they were been married for, at that time, about like 18 or 19 years, So even though everything seemed, well-intentioned on the outside, there was, something, an invasive darkness, as what I say in my book, that was clouding his thinking, that for some reason he felt like he was better off not here as opposed to being here. And, uh, I remember thinking like, what do I do next? Like, how do I move forward after feeling left behind? How do I, the person that I looked up to, the person that taught me a great work ethic, the person that taught me how to build great relationships with people, build good friendships is now gone. Like, well, how do I, as a 17-year-old, move forward after this?
Hmm.
What do I even do? It was a lot of times I was asking myself.
What did you do with the lingering abandonment, the anger, the confusion, the poor self-image, poor self-worth that came from this? How did you turn that around?
It took me a while, quite frankly. And in my college years and my teen years, I suppressed it, and um, I smiled a lot. I acted like everything was just fine, and most people in college didn't even know that it happened, that I had gone through that experience with my dad, because I just tried to ignore it and just try to be like positive, like everything was just fine. And I had some crazy experiences with dreams, and the more I understand about how your mind works, because I've really gotten into studying your mind. Like, whenever I became unconscious, whenever I fell asleep, I had dreams that were filled with anger, rage, because I would have dreams that my dad was still alive, but he would come back alive like in ways like he was the deadbeat dad that always came back whenever he needed something, or he left our family to be with another woman, or just the things that you hear about happening in real life. But those were the dreams that I was having.
Wow.
And then one day I realized, I'm like, I haven't moved past this, and in fact, it's holding me back in a lot of ways. Um, and so that's whenever I started making the decision to seeking, maybe spiritual guidance, and figuring out a way where I could forgive him, for what maybe he was going through, and maybe trying to see his perspective on what maybe caused him to feel like that was the only option he had.
That's it's devastating when we lose someone to suicide. I've lost 9 people in my life that I loved to suicide, and one is enough, to be frank with you. And I know you know that. What was college life like for you? It was almost like a fresh start, right? It was you met some lifelong friends at Missouri State, ultimately met your wife there. Can you talk about moving forward and how that transitioned into your first teaching job?
Yeah, man, I still have friends that I talk to today that I met there in Springfield. I met a lot of great people, and as hard as it was to leave my hometown, I knew like if I stayed there, I just felt like I had to go my own way for a while, because I had all these other people telling me what I should be doing at home, and they were all well intentioned, but I felt like I had to figure out what that there was more to life than just where I grew up. Um, and like I said, I met my wife there, and then I got my first teaching job at a charter school in downtown Kansas City, um, which made me more excited because my wife got a job in Kansas City, so I was able to be closer to her. And then um, I met a lot of friends there as well. It was a great place. I learned a lot about other cultures there because it was a very Hispanic school, um, and I gained a huge appreciation for the Hispanic culture, and the values they place on family there are just incredible. I even learned a little bit more Spanish too while I was there, which was awesome as well. So it was a great, and I had a great leader there. A great principal there. She really was a people first person. And if you made a mistake, she was like, well, just learn from it, just get better from it. She didn't make me feel like I was the worst person in the world. She was, kind. She opened door policy, and it was a great place to start my career, man. It really was. And, and I'm so thankful for that, the opportunity that I got to start off uh, there at that school.
Well, do me a favor, give a shout out to your principal. What's her name?
Her, yeah, her name is Melody Villalobos, and she's actually, she's got some really cool artwork on Instagram. She's an amazing artist as well. She's
Do
she's
you know the
transitioned back to a teacher, but
Do you know the handle?
I don't off the top of my head.
Okay.
But I can text it to you if you want to put it in the show notes.
Yeah, put it in the link in description. Absolutely.
It's unique. But it's very meaningful though. There's a lot of like subtleness and a lot of passion in her work. It's really cool.
Well, what was your name again? Maria?
Melody Villalobos.
Melody Villalobos, thank you for helping Jason grow and change his life and find hope. It's amazing. I mean, you had this new start. You started this new job. It gave you a lot of strength and courage, and she was a part of that. And so we got to shout her out. We'll make sure that you send her this link when it's up and ready on YouTube.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
For sure. So next thing I want to talk about is you actually started a program for that very school in 2010, a basketball program. And to be fair, as you say, you didn't win a game in 3 years, but it made a difference in those kids' lives. And the program is most importantly still going today. Can you talk about that program and how it helped those kids have their own self-confidence and self-worth?
Yeah, the best thing about that was the support I got from my wife. She didn't think I was too crazy about it. She was like, you know what, if it's going to help these kids, then just go for it. And she came from a sports background as well, playing volleyball. And any crazy idea that I've had, she's always been my biggest supporter. And I think, one of the most important things you can do is marry somebody that is supporting you whenever you have these audacious goals. And, she's been my rock, my foundation. So, my wife, Mary, I wanted to just make sure that, people knew that for everything I'm doing, she has been an ultimate supporter for that. But yeah, we practiced in a small little Catholic school gym. And in our first season, we ended up playing an intramural team from the local community college. And so like these kids were massive compared to my kids were like 5'7", 5'8", maybe weighed 125, 30 pounds. We're playing against 6'5" kids that can jump out of the gym. And
oh my gosh.
And then in the gym itself, man, it was probably like 70 feet long, and so short gym. It was loud in there, echoing, and so we had 3 games that year, but we practiced, and kids were excited about it, and the next year though, we moved it to the community center, which was a much bigger area. We had people showing up, and there were we were playing high schools. It's so funny that most high schools are like, well, yeah, you play high school. Well, my first year I played against intramural community college kids, so playing against high school kids was okay. Now we're getting a little more even playing field. But you got to start somewhere. It was what I learned through that. And then the following year we had a lead at halftime, and you would have thought like we had just won the NBA finals. And I was like, guys, we still have half the game. Like, this is great. This is awesome. This is great. And so, I left there after 3 years because I got another coaching job opportunity, but they ended up winning games with the next guy that came in. And, I think they're in a good place now. And, but it was cool to see where it started, 10 years ago now.
Wow.
And the fact that it's still going is exciting to see.
That's a bit of a legacy you're leaving behind. You started the program, and now it's still going and on its way and moving forward and helping a lot of kids find themselves. I'm sure that's fantastic. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that.
That's the goal too, man. Is to change lives through sports. Sports are such a vehicle where you can impact them in so many positive ways if you go about it with the right perspective. It's not always about winning and losing. It's more about what do you learn while you're playing. What's the journey, not necessarily the destination.
What's the journey, not necessarily the destination. That would be a great Instagram post for you.
Yeah. I'm going to wrap to write that down so I remember that.
Write that down. Well, it's recorded now, so you just watch this again.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Now, after this, you coached with McCann Basketball, which is one of the most well-known Nike grassroots clubs in the nation. Trey Young and Michael Porter were two notable names there. Pretty fantastic. You led basketball camps across the country for a company called Breakthrough Basketball. What was that experience like, and how did that affect your personal growth?
Yeah, so going from not winning a game in 3 years, and then you walk into a practice where there's like, I was a volunteer coach for some of the high school. I mostly coached like middle school kids, but I walk into a practice and there's all these like top 100 Division I kids playing in the summertime on this one team. I'm like, holy cow! Like these guys, I'm not okay. I could get used to it. I mean, this is really cool, and it was there too where I met my next great mentor, and now he's become my best friend, Jim Huber. And it was I've learned so much from him about not just coaching, but again, like how to be a great husband, great friend, great great person in general. And when my dad passed from suicide, I asked God for mentors. And it's funny, whenever you ask, like, you don't realize how much you're going to receive whenever you genuinely ask. And as I look back about the people that came into my life and when they came in my life, I have gotten some amazing mentors, and I'm getting even better, and even more of them they're just coming to kind of guide me along my path. And it's I'm 35 now, so it's been about half my lifetime ago, and I'm just so thankful for where I'm at now compared to where I was half my lifetime ago.
Yeah.
And then coaching breakthrough basketball camps, there's 60 to 80 kids at every camp that I lead. And I share life lessons with them. Like last week, I had one in Lenexa, Kansas. And I shared my story of losing my dad. And I told them the importance of valuing your parents and giving them a hug and telling them you love them and not being too cool, because, I hope you have 50 more years with them. But, tomorrow's not guaranteed. You never know what could happen. So make sure you stay present with them. It's kind of what I've been learning myself and trying to tell others as well.
Oh, Jason, that's a beautiful thing, because I look at my dad. He's almost 74, and he's walking slower. He's not as talkative as he was, and he's a beautiful man, an amazing human being, best dad a kid could ever have. But you never know how much time you have with anybody, right? And you
Right.
never know what tomorrow brings for any person. And if you know the people you love, you got to show them. You got to show them right here and right now, so they're aware of how valued they are. And I think that's a crucial thing. So I call my dad almost every day just to tell him I love him. And I say that. I say, Dad, I just called to tell you I love you. We don't have to talk about anything else. We don't have to have a deep conversation. Just know I love you and I miss you. And of course, during COVID, I can't go see him. I can't go see my pop, and it's driving me absolutely bananas. But those Zoom calls I do with him and the conversations we have are so important. And let me just say this, Jason, I'm sorry for your loss, genuinely, as a man-to-man, suicide preventer to suicide preventer, helper to helper. I'm sorry for what you've gone through, and what you're going through, because it doesn't end after the day they pass away. When you lose someone to suicide, it's forever. And one of the things I recognize is that we may not always see the light at the end of the tunnel, but we can know it's there, right? And we can know that we just have to keep moving forward. I don't personally believe that we can move on from a suicide. I don't believe that's possible. I think we can push through the pain, look to the living, and move forward. Just forward, not on, but forward. I think that's a fine distinction to make, and a reality with people who've lost someone this way. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, man. It's finding your new normal. And it's I talk about in my book, it's not necessarily the earthquake that hits you, it's the aftershocks. And every year, there's a day that he passed away. There's Christmas. Now there's my son's birthdays. There's my parents' anniversary. It's all things that it's a reminder that he's not here, and it's a reminder of why he's not here. So I learned a strategy called continuous forgiveness. And anytime I feel a bit of anger or a bit of negative emotion, I write it down, but then I follow it up with, Dad, I forgive you, because I don't want that emotion to latch on and hold me back from the work that I know I'm supposed to do.
Right.
Um, and I think that it's important to understand that, yeah, you're right. It's it never goes away. But you can have, I like to call it positive optimism. I can feel sad today. I can feel like I had a bad day today, but I believe that tomorrow can get better. And I believe that there's a good life ahead of me. And if I do certain things to keep me on the right track, by God's universe, by God's laws, it will get better. Just if I put into place certain action steps, um, and stay positive and feel positive,
Mm.
even if, I'm having a sad day, or even if I'm not having the most exciting day.
Yeah. Jason, that makes perfect sense to me. And I love that positive optimism is really a key point in my life. I never actually put it that way, but I've always dealt with really hard times mentally with my bipolar disorder and the ups and the downs and the symptoms that I have. But I really do stay positively optimistic that tomorrow will be better. That's why we have the message, be here tomorrow, and every day after that. Um, uh, you, you read your first personal growth book. I think it's called The Code of the Extraordinary Mind, about post-traumatic growth. Can you tell me about how that changed your life?
Yeah, it was it was free on Kindle, actually. And I was like, oh, that looks interesting. And so I read it. I couldn't put it down. Like, things are like clicking in my mind. Like, it's almost like, the author just knew how the human mind works and how to really latch on to personal growth, because that's what we're naturally inclined to grow. Like, just like a flower blooms in the springtime, just like a tree grows and keeps getting broader and expanding. We as humans are also, meant to grow, from the time we're kids, growing physically, but even learning and, and going for crazy audacious goals that you don't know how they're going to happen. That's how you grow, is diving into that comfort zone. And that book really, set me on a path to explore personal growth even more. And it's really helped me heal myself from losing my dad. And that's why I've, coined it post-traumatic growth, because, like you've gone through and I've gone through, we can go through the most horrendous things, but it's how we make sense of them, and what can we use them for to be inspired, so we can inspire other people.
Take it all in so we can give it back in a positive way.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, then, Jason, you then wrote your own book, as you mentioned briefly on the show, but tell us all about it. Shattered by Suicide, Renewed by Resilience. What does this book mean to you? What was it like writing the book? And what has it meant to people who have read the book?
Um, Writing the book, it was tough. I mean, because I went back and I wrote it from my firsthand perspective of what I went through when, like, the moments leading up to losing my dad, and then even afterwards. But then I didn't want to leave people there. That's part of my post-traumatic growth story. Is I went into, like 15 things that I've done, implemented in my life over time, that have helped me really get to a place where I feel like I can, go from survivor to thriver.
Hmm.
And it's things like the Code of the Extraordinary Mind. It's personal growth legends like Bob Proctor as well, who give you a blueprint of, what does success look like, and you don't even know what you're capable of. Like, we are so capable of so much more, but we limit ourselves in a box because we think we have to fit this certain mold because of what society tells us we're supposed to do. And when you take the lid off your imagination, man, like, I truly believe, like, whenever you have the willpower and the desire, you can do what you're meant to do in this life. But too many of us play too small. We don't dream big enough, and a lot of times.
So you're maybe, if I can wrap that up, you want people to go out, dream big, have those big audacious goals, set realistic ones to get to that point, and then achieve one moment at a time. Really, just
Yeah.
go out there, do the hard work, put the effort in, read the self-help books that can help you get to a better place, and ultimately change your life forever.
And then, and I like to think of it like this to give a visual. Think about building a house. You build the foundation first, right? So, and then think of every day as laying one brick. Brick by brick, the house is built, and then when you build it on solid ground, it lasts forever, and you just keep creating. And that's what I feel like. If we would get to that mindset of, I'm a creator, I can truly make an impact on the world. And for me, it's like that, if it's going to help 2 or more people, then that makes even more sense, because I'm helping others. And that was part of like my writing my book was like, well, if one person reads it and their life has changed from it, then it's worth it. If one person, if I save one life because they read what I went through, and maybe it changed their mind about, oh, maybe my life isn't that bad. Maybe my parents do care about me, or maybe my kids would miss me, or whatever the scenario was. Then it was 100% worth it, man.
Have you received any positive messages in return from your book or your work or your efforts that of a life changed? And if so, is there one you can target and tell us about?
I had, it's probably my mom is probably the most proud of me, and so I think it gave her a lot of closure on how I'm feeling about the situation. And I think, as a parent, you just want your kids to be happy, healthy, and helpful, and I think for her, she was like, it was hard to read, but it was something that, I understand now more of what you went through. And so,
Yeah.
and my mom was probably the most appreciative and supportive as well. And then, yeah, I did a book signing. I did a couple of book signings last fall, and, not that I could name one specific story, but there were a couple of teenagers that came up to me and like, thank you for, like, this was, I'm going through something similar, or, I've had really depressing thoughts as well, but, by reading this, it's helped me realize that, life will get better. Life, it's okay. Like, it's just a valley, and I'll reach my mountain one day, kind of thing.
And so there are those lives affected and impacted for the rest of their existence. That's phenomenal. Absolutely amazing. I want to wrap this up. We'll talk briefly about you built a company called 4D Athletes that teaches essential life skills through sports. That's fantastic. Where can people find information about 4D Athletes online? Is that possible?
Yeah, we're filming this now at the end of July. It's 40athletes.com. And then, you can reach out to me at jasonholzer6@gmail.com. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. We're getting ready to launch this thing really soon, man. And it's exciting because our goal is to transform 100 million athletes worldwide. And it's me and my mentor, Jim Huber. And we don't know how we're going to get there, but we plan on working with people that are smarter than us to figure it out.
That's the way it goes.
That's the goal.
It's the way it goes.
Yeah. I always want to be around. I want to be the dumbest person in the room because I love learning, and if I'm around smarter people, then it's going to make me feel smarter, and I'm going to get smarter as well. Like, I don't want to be the smartest person in the room,
You want to soak in all the knowledge in the room. You want to take it all in.
Yeah, like a sponge, man. In a lot of ways, I still feel like I'm like a kid. I'm just a sponge, just trying to soak up all this stuff and learn as much as I can while I'm here, man. It makes it fun too, So like I said, that's our goal, man, to transform 100 million athletes worldwide. And if we end up transforming 75 million, then that's still a lot of people.
It's a lot of people. And you're going to get there because you're driven and you're excited for it, and your work ethic is phenomenal. So I know you'll get there. You became a certified thought coach to help athletes and suicide loss survivors through the Say Who's method by Ora Nadrick. The process helps them understand that their thoughts are creating their emotions are determining their actions, and their actions are determining their reactions. It's funny that you said that. I was on a podcast yesterday who said something similar to this, and I've always stated your thoughts don't have to become your actions. Your thoughts don't have to own, rule, or define what you do next. But we often think that they do. We often think that if I think this, then I have to act upon it. And these are marrying the two ideas. Your thought process, your writing of this right here, and my expressing my thoughts don't have to become my actions are very similar ways of thinking. They're basically the same thing in different words. Can you tell me about what you meant by that, and what that mindset does for you?
Yeah. So, it's your thoughts, we have 70,000 thoughts a day. And then 90% of those thoughts are repeated from the past day. And to go even further than that, a negative thought is 40 to 70 times more powerful than a positive thought. So you're going to have negative thoughts in your head, but it's not allowing yourself to get emotionally involved with it. Like, it's allowing, it's like gray clouds in the sky. Think about it like this, you have clouds that just pass through in the sky. Just allow them to go through. Like, just allow them, like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I'm not sure. But then we also have the mental capacity to replace it with a positive thought and get mostly involved with those kind of things as well. And so that's where it goes with thinking and getting emotionally involved with your positive thoughts and not allowing those negative thoughts to become part of your emotions.
Yeah.
Because your emotions then become your actions.
Right.
Now think about this, like whenever you're feeling great, whenever you're like kind of in the zone, you are way more productive as opposed to a day like, gosh, man, like things aren't working out, or, that kind of thing. And you get emotionally involved in it. You maybe feel lazier that day, or you feel like you have doubts, or, you're doubting your abilities in a lot of ways. So it's a technique that I've used, and it's through questioning, asking yourself the right questions that help you get to a great place of being positive.
I love that, Jason. I love that. So, Jason, we're going to wrap this up here. It was phenomenal talking to you. I want you to lead us out here and share how people can reach you on social media one more time, so we can lock that in, and give one message to people in pain that you would say to help keep them here.
Yeah. So I'm on, like I said, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter is at Coach_Holzer. Instagram is at jholzer. LinkedIn, search for my name. I'm on LinkedIn as well. But I would say the message I would have for a lot of people right now currently that are going through a lot of tough times is give life a chance to get better. I know a lot of people are going through some tough times. A lot of people are really, struggling with this pandemic, but it too shall pass, just like everything else has, if you look in history. But what's on the other side of that is going to be so amazing. I believe that because, there's a law of the universe called the law of polarity. And for every, bad thing, there's an equal and opposite good thing. So, man, I am so excited to be on the other side of this because, there's going to be some really good things that come from this. I don't know what it is per se, but I just believe that I have the faith that something good is going to come from it.
Thank you, Jason. Ladies and gentlemen, family and friends, that was another episode of the Mental Health Marvels podcast. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for hearing Jason's story. It was powerful and impactful and moving. What I want you to do is to look to the person to your left, look to the person to your right, ask them if they're okay, ask them if they need help, even ask them if they're thinking of killing themselves and if they have made a plan, because you can be the impetus between them getting the help they need and being here tomorrow and every day after that. Guys, you're beautiful just as you are. You're 1,000 times greater than the worst thing you've ever done. You're pertinent. You're supposed to be here until your natural end, and suicide should never be the solution to your problem. It is the problem. Be here tomorrow and every day after that. Jason, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time.
Hey, Kevin, thank you for having me, man. It's been a lot of fun, so I appreciate you having me on.
Take care, brother.
See ya.